Okay, guys, so a topic of discussion that has been fueling a bit more recently in the Transformers community the last week or two since there was that interview with, I think it was MCU Collector, where he asked something about SS-86, and I think Evan and Nate, they were like, oh, SS-86 isn't going to end, it's going to go on, and we're going to do all these different characters, we're going to do redos of characters that were already in the War for Cybertron trilogy or Studio Series 86, stuff like that they were talking about. And it got me thinking, and it got the whole community thinking, can SS-86 really truly go on forever as to what they were alluding to in that interview with MCU Collector? I don't know. Like, there's a couple things to think about here that I don't think this is a line that can go on for like another, let's say, 10, 20 years. If this really is like, if Studio Series is becoming like the mainstay line for Transformers, like, say, Marvel has Marvel Legends, Star Wars has Star Wars Black Series, and G.I. Joe has G.I. Joe Classified. I don't know if they're planning for Studio Series to be like that going forward because, this toy line has already been around for, like 7 years now? So it seems like that's what they're gunning for Studio Series to be for Transformers, to be the Marvel Legends or Black Series for this franchise with Hasbro. And I'm okay with that, especially since they're introducing more sublines and eras from the franchise within this toy line. I think you might as well just make it the go-to line. And I just thought of this theory right now. What if they ditch mainline generations, the secondary line from Studio Series, that we have with Age of the Primes, Legacy, Earthrise, Kingdom, all this stuff that we've had the last, since 2010, 15 years. What if they're slowly phasing out that version of Generations and they're just sticking everything in Studio Series? Because think about it. They're trying to keep down costs. They're trying to reduce packaging costs, figure costs, production, all this stuff, right? And I would say it would be pretty pricey for Hasbro to have two separate Transformers lines nowadays with what Chris Cox and everybody in charge over at Hasbro, the suits, are trying to make this corporation to be nowadays in 2025. More of a licensing company, cutting back on certain things, and really only making stuff that they know is gonna sell. What if what they're kind of alluding to here is not so much Studio Series 86? Now, I'm speculating here. I'm not saying this is gonna truly happen, but Age of the Primes is a duology instead of a trilogy. They're not doing trilogies anymore, it seems like. And after Age of the Primes, I feel like we haven't gotten really much, like, any word with 2027 stuff from regular mainline Generations so far. I'm pretty sure we've only gotten Studio Series listings for 2027. Now, obviously, that's 2 years away. There's still so much time to, unravel listings from computer systems with Target and Walmart for product in 2027. But I feel like it's a little bit telling so far that we've only had Studio Series listings. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we've only had Studio Series listings for 2027. Let me know in the comments, guys. But mostly, if that's the case, I feel like that might be a sign that everything might be grouped into Studio Series in 2027 going forward, because look at the patterns. Look at where this toy line is heading to. They're putting comic book figures into Studio Series now. That's not in regular mainline Generations anymore, it seems like, starting in 2027. They're talking about doing more cartoon characters in Studio Series. I don't know if that's going to start in 2027 or next year, but it's something they've said that they're going to start doing in Studio Series the last 2-3 years. And it seems like they're creeping up on that moment more and more in the next year or two, I'd say. And mainline Generations, that is the bread and butter of that toy line. Cartoon characters from the franchise over the last 41 years. Whether it's G1, Beast Wars, Animated, Unicron Trilogy, Prime, you name it. They're going to do it from those cartoons in the mainline Generations. And the other sign is, in Age of the Primes, I'm pretty sure the Generations logo is gone on these new packages. Even for Studio Series 2. I could be wrong on Studio Series, but I'm pretty sure Age of the Primes doesn't have the Generations logo anymore. And that's been on boxes for the last 15 years, since 2010. And now all of a sudden they're doing away with that. There's a couple signs here that are pointing to Studio Series becoming the main stay point in the main toy line going forward for Hasbro collector figures in mass retail. Now, again, I'm just speculating. I could be wrong on this, but, discussing those few signs there and breaking it down for you guys, I think that's where Hasbro Transformers mainline stuff is heading. I think they're going to do away with regular Generations and everything is going to be put into Studio Series because it makes sense. Studio Series is a big seller. I think it's selling a little bit more now than, Age of the Primes and mainline Generations. I could be wrong on that, but that's what it seems like, especially with the addition of Studio Series 86 the last few years. And you have the Bayverse in there. That is one of the main selling points for Hasbro Transformers and Transformers in general now, the last 18 years. Whether you like the Bayverse or you hate it, it's one of the highest selling eras of the franchise, still to this day, almost 20 years later. So you have that grouped in with Studio Series 86, now with comic figures, then you have concept art figures, video game figures, and then they're starting to introduce more cartoon figures from other iterations of the franchise. Now they're talking about bringing in Studio Series 84, which they basically confirmed in a Hasbro live stream. What was that, like a month or two ago? They put up a question, would you like to see characters that didn't appear in the 86 movie make an appearance in the Studio Series toy line? Basically saying and confirming and asking the fandom if they want Studio Series cartoon stuff and not movie stuff just in Studio Series. So if they're already moving G1 redos into Studio Series, that's not just 86 stuff, you're looking at basically the whole character selection of what regular mainline Generations is already doing. I feel like in some way they're more so talking about Studio Series going on forever, similar to Marvel Legends or Black Series, and not just one subline, which would be the 86 movie subline. I think they just used that as an example because of how MCU Collector asked the question. I think it revolved around the 86 subline, if I'm not mistaken. So I think Hasbro, with that, was hinting at Studio Series becoming the mainstay toy line for, I don't know, the next 10, 20 years, I'd say, for, at least. Becoming the next Marvel Legends, but for Transformers. So either way, whatever happens, it seems like they're alluding to Studio Series going on for a long time, at least another 5, 10, 15 years maybe. So yeah, guys, let me know down in the comments below. What do y'all think is going to go on with the Studio Series 86 subline and Studio Series as a whole within the next 5, 10 years? Do you think it's going to become the mainstay toy line for Hasbro Transformers going forward, similar to G.I. Joe Classified or Marvel Legends? And yeah, guys, thank you for watching this video. Catch y'all in the next one. Bye!